Hi, this is Josh Weidman here with today's REI 360 training. I want to thank you for joining me. Today I want to talk about becoming a closer. Closing deals like a closer, and if you've ever spent any time in the sales arena, maybe you're a salesman right now, or perhaps you were introduced to it when you first got out of school and did a little bit of selling, or maybe your only introduction to selling is somebody coming to your house and trying to sell you some windows or siding or whatever. Well, the art of selling is really part of life. I mean, it's something that if you are involved in any kind of business, it's really negotiating. That's what the whole thing boils down to. And when you're negotiating with a seller in a real estate deal, there's a lot of similarities between closing a sale. In this case, you're closing a sale, but you're the buyer instead of the seller. I'd like today to go over some basics that you're probably not going to become an expert at closing. If you were, there's closers and salespeople are some of the most highly paid individuals in the world for their talent and their expertise. But what they do is something that can be learned. It's something that you can integrate into your business, and ultimately, there's a few small tricks that it might not bring you to a world-class level, but it certainly will put you head and shoulders above the competition and will help you close more deals month in and month out. So let's talk about some simple rules, some real straightforward, simple rules that we can immediately implement into our business. I've got 4 of them. I think you should implement all of them, but I'll make some highlights as we go along here. All right. Rule number 1: there's no such thing as a free lunch. I took some business courses when I was in college. I took an economics course, and they said the first lesson in economics is there's no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody's always paying for it. So when you're negotiating, when you're talking to these sellers, make sure that they understand that if they're asking for something, they're going to have to pay for it. This might be a higher sales price. It might be cover their closing costs. It might be, close faster, whatever that might be. If they're asking for something, ask for something in return, okay? You see this a lot of times with credit card companies. There was a study years ago with a credit card company. Basically what they did was they were studying how long they could keep somebody on hold when they called in to have a late fee removed from their bill. So they would see how long they could keep somebody on hold without them just blowing it off and canceling the card. And what they found was that every time somebody asked for something, they'd be put on hold. There'd be a pause of 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Then they go back and they say, I'm sorry, I can't get rid of the fee, but you've been such a good customer, let me give you a $10 credit. Well, the fee's $50. And then the customer says, all right, fine. You know what? I'll take it. Let's just call it a day. Well, guess what? Credit card company just saved $40. The same thing. I mean, that's a little bit, backhanded, and it's not really the best way to conduct business. But in the context of doing business and in the negotiation, you want to make sure that if that seller is asking for something and you're going to concede, you're going to get something for it. So let's see here. When you're making an offer, make sure you're making it with confidence. Make sure you're not up talking and asking a question. Well, how much is your offer for the property? Well, it might be about $30,000. No, that's not it. You did all your calculations. You did research into what the property is worth. You figured out how much profit you're going to have to build into it, and the offer is $30,000. No excuses. You're not asking for them to forgive you. You're approaching this like you're the expert. That's what you are. You're offering to purchase the property, and then boom, there it is, 30 grand. If you have to concede, that's okay. No big deal. Maybe they say, you know what? I really need $40,000. Can't do $40,000, but I can probably come up a little bit. If you're going to concede on price, do it in small increments. If your initial offer is 20 grand, and you end up buying the place for 40, you look like a liar and kind of a scumbag to them. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that if you're conceding $1 here, $1 there, whatever. All right. If you were making these concessions, make them pay for it. They want some more money for the property. I think I can make that happen. I'm going to have to use a different kind of financing. And if I use a different kind of financing, what that's going to do is it's going to require me to have access to the property when I need it, and it's going to require me to have a little bit longer time frame for closing. So I know you want to close next week, but I'm going to need for the next 45 days. I'm going to need 45 days to close, and I can give you the price that you're looking for. So that's the trade-off, all right? Try never to negotiate on price. When a lot of times when these people are approaching you about buying their house for quick cash, the buzz is not the cash. That's not really their motivation. More times than not, they're approaching you because they don't have anywhere else to go, or because you're able to offer them a solution to a problem, or because they want something that you can give them more than they want the cash that they could get if they went to a retail source. All right? So what you're doing is you're approaching them with a solution to their problem. Try not to negotiate on price. This makes it really important when you initially do the over-the-phone interview and interview them on what they're looking for on the property and why. Listen to that why, so that when they come back and they say, well, I need some more money for the property, what they might really be saying is, I need a solution to this problem. Why do you need more money? What do you need the additional money for? Well, we have to get into this other apartment, or we have to pay for our moving expenses, or I want to buy a boat and sail around the world. There's a lot of solutions there that don't involve the bottom line, or at least not your bottom line. So that's something that you got to keep in mind. If you're going to concede on, hey, I'll tell you what, my uncle actually owns a boat dealership. I'll bet you I can get you the best price in town on a boat. If I can get you a good deal on a boat, wouldn't that be better than me giving you an extra $2,000? I can get you a heck of a lot better deal than saving that $2,000. This is the kind of thing that you want to do. One time I bought a house from someone who she just didn't have a dollar. She didn't have any money. I helped her move, found her a place to live. I negotiated with the new landlord so that we were able to pay a year's worth of rent up front from the funds at closing. She was able to take a price that was $30,000 less than she was asking for the property. I was able to get the property where I needed it, and she was able to get a solution to her problems. All right. So when you're negotiating, no such thing as free lunch. We're trading. If they want more money, this is what it's going to cost them. If they want to close more quickly, this is what it's going to cost them. It goes hand in hand. Keep that in mind. Don't give it away for free. All right. The second rule to negotiating like a closer is going to be pitch for a yes or a no. There are all different types of sales training. The one that I learned that was best for me, and especially if you are not a seasoned salesperson, will be best for you for sure, is going to be to change your goal walking into this property. When you're going in to meet a seller, your goal should not be, I gotta get this under contract. I have to force them to sign the paperwork. No. This is a dance. This is a give and take. This is a mutually beneficial relationship that you're getting into. And if you scam them, or if you confuse them, or force them, or convince them to sign that paperwork, it's going to fall apart. This is a multi-week deal. Sometimes you're talking about a month, 2 months, 3 months before we actually get to the settlement table. So you want to make sure that they're happy and you're happy. All right. So with that in mind, you want to change your goal. Your goal is not to get a yes; it's to get a yes or a no. The biggest killer in sales is not being able to get a yes or no, but a maybe. Well, let us think about it. We'll get back to you. We'll let you know. No, they won't. I'm sure you've used that exact same deferred no, many times. And you know what? People don't even realize they're doing it. It's their gut reaction. When people say we'll get back to you, don't let them sit there. I'm going to talk today a little bit about how to do that. When you're building up to this, making a decision, I do it in 3 steps. First, I'm going to change the goal. That's going into this. But then I'm going to build up pressure and release and back them into a commitment. Let's talk about what I'm talking about here. All right. So this sales pitch, this presentation. Okay. When I'm on the phone with a seller, before I even go out and see the property, I go over a ballpark of what I'm probably going to offer for the house. Usually it's a $20,000 to $40,000 ballpark. It's enough to get my foot in the door, have them drop their price a little bit, make sure we're in the same ballpark. If I'm there and I schedule an appointment, the last thing I do before we get off the phone is I tell them what's going to happen next. You know, Mrs. Smith, I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday at noon. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to pull a list of comparable sales. This is basically a list of all the properties that sold in the neighborhood within the last 6 months. I'm going to look for properties that are at the top of the market and that are the same type of property that you have, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms with a finished basement. Okay? When I get over to the house, the first thing I'm going to do is walk through the property. I'm going to do a construction analysis of the house, and I'm going to determine how much it's going to cost me to take your property and put it in the condition of all of those high-end properties, the best properties in the marketplace. It's going to give me a construction number. Based on those 2 numbers, I'm going to work up an exact offer price. I gave you a ballpark today, but I'm going to give you an exact number, hard number, where I'm going to be able to offer you for the property. Then, you know, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my company and, you know, see if we're a match. Okay? From there, if we can come to an agreement, we'll pull out some paperwork, go through the paperwork, and you know, then I turn it over to the title company. We'll close in as quickly as 10 days. It might be as long as 45, but we'll take it from there. Does that sound good? Sounds great. Okay, then I'll see you on Tuesday at noon. So there's my pitch. That's what I'm going to be doing. Here's the deal. When you're meeting with a seller, you want to relieve some of the pressure when you walk in and get on some common ground, make them like you. But at the end of the day, there's some anxiety there. There's some anxiety on their end because they want to sell this house, but they want the most amount of money for it because they have their own hopes and ambitions and dreams and all these things that go along with selling the house and getting the money, the funds from the house. Okay? So the first thing that they want to know from you is how much you're going to pay. So don't keep them waiting too long. If you've ever gone through sales training, one of the sales training techniques is to build up this pressure and make them so uncomfortable and squirming in their seat and then throw down the offer, you know, and then just be quiet and stare them down, and it builds up all this pressure, and it's the first person that talks. Listen, high pressure sales are effective for a one call close. This just happens to be really effective for the 1 call, 2 call, 10 call, well, however long call close. It creates a lot of pressure, and that's what your intention is when you first get there, but then it releases it. So I'm building up the pressure. I walk through the house, I do my calculations, and I sit down with them. I say, Mrs. Smith, man, I'm looking at this house, and look, this is all these properties are selling for, and you know, I did these calculations, and you're going to need a new bathroom. The basement's going to need a total remodel, new kitchen, new roof, windows. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done here to bring it up to this condition. I mean, I'm talking maybe $40,000. At this time, she's going, oh my goodness, this is terrible. You know, he gave me this $40,000 window, and he's not even going to be anywhere close to that. So I'm going, you know, leading it on, building up this pressure, and then I throw out the number. Now, this is the number that I throw out that if she says yes, we're making a ton of money. Tons of money, and it's a great deal all around, okay? So it's going to be the lowest number within that $40,000, so long as everything else stayed the same. So let's say my offer price was somewhere, my guesstimate was between $20,000 and $60,000 over the phone. When I get there, I realize that $40,000 is probably where I want to be. I'm going to offer $20,000 at this point of the conversation. My offer is going to have to be about $20,000. Just sit. Building up, and one of 2 things is going to happen. They're going to get ticked off, and they're just going to sit there and stare at you like, oh my gosh, a little bit deflated. Well, release the pressure. After they've had a chance to sit there a little bit, be the first to talk. So, Mrs. Smith, here's the situation. This is my offer. This offer is good for 6 months. If a month from now, you know what, you say, hey, I'm ready to go. Let's go, Josh. Great. If you call me 5 months from now and I got the same thing, I'm ready to go. All right? All right, so Mrs. Smith, I'd like to take a couple minutes and introduce you to myself and my company. Now, at this point, she thought she was going to have to make a decision on that $20,000. She was getting ready to say, yeah, let me think about it and get back to you. But you took that off her plate. You don't let her get to that point. Don't let those words come out of her mouth. Just start talking about the company. right? Your company, we've been around for almost 8 years now. We've done probably 600 or 800 transactions in those 7 or 8 years. We're consistently doing rehabs and renting properties. And we've got funding from a couple different sources. It allows us to be able to purchase, rehab, and place back on the market or rent out anywhere from 6 to 8 properties every single month. We're really, really strong financially, and I'll tell you what, there's only one property that we've contracted this year that we haven't closed on. And you're gonna go on and on. Tell her facts about you, about your company, and let this go on for 10 or 15 minutes. Let her get comfortable, and as you go through the presentation, you're gonna constantly wanna be saying things like, doesn't that sound like the kind of company you wanna be involved with? Doesn't that, oh, of course, yeah, absolutely, of course. Just get her smiling. She thinks that the deal's almost done. Then you get to the end and you say, this is how I close this section. Mrs. Smith, listen, if price wasn't an option, if I could hand you your asking price, do I seem like the kind of guy that you want to do business with, the kind of company you want to do business with? Of course she can say, absolutely. Even if she doesn't like you, she's going to say absolutely because she wants you to get out of the house. But you want to get that absolutely, okay? At this point, now we go to rule number 3. Every offer is time sensitive. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead of it a minute. We're going to go back to back them into a commitment. All right, so yes, she's interested. So, I told you before that offer I made you, that's good for 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. What is? Of course it is. I'm going to put it in writing, leave it here. It's good for 6 months. You call me up, we'll close. But here's the situation. Every month, we have enough money to buy 6 or 7 properties, depending on the dollar amount. Right now, I've bought